From journalism students at London Metropolitan University, this is Met Today.
Good afternoon and welcome to Met Today, news from London, live from the Holloway Road, today with John Chinode.
And Leanne Carr. Coming up in today's programme, we'll be looking back at last night's event, Colour in Fashion, where we asked a panel of experts, how should fashion embrace diversity? We'll also be looking back at the highlights from the amazing collection designed and modelled by London Met's BA fashion students. We'll also be joined by creative lead Omotolo Shakoye and get her opinions on how the industry is changing. Don't forget, you can get in touch to have your say on the programme by emailing newsroom@londonmet.ac.uk or on our Facebook page or on Twitter at Met Today. But first, here's a summary of the latest news with Emily Warner.
Good afternoon. Our TV team has been very busy today selecting and editing all the footage from yesterday's Colour in Fashion event. Students from journalism and fashion at London Metropolitan University joined forces to produce a spectacular event with a panel of fashion experts to discuss diversity in fashion. Questions range from the influence of social media to cultural appropriation. More on this coming up later in the programme. In other news, reaction has been mixed to President Donald Trump's first State of the Union address. He lists his accomplishments and proposals for Congress next year and extended an open hand to work with the Democrats. Many, however, stayed silent in the audience and chose not to join the Republicans in a round of applause. The BBC is facing a parliamentary hearing today in front of the Department of Culture, Media and Sport Committee to review their gender pay inequality. Former BBC China editor Carrie Gracie, who resigned because of pay inequality, will speak alongside the BBC's Director General Tony Hall to create a new pay framework and ensure men and women are equally paid. Marks & Spencer has just announced they're planning to close another 8 stores across the country. A total of 14 stores will now shut after a disappointing Christmas, putting 500 jobs at risk. Sasha Brenji, the Retail Operation Director, said the company will try to relocate as many employees as possible, but may have to consider some redundancies. And finally, a killer whale in France has learned to speak. The female orca, called Wiki, has learned to mimic her trainer and say words like hello and goodbye and count to 3 through her blowhole. It's thought she's the first member of her species to be able to mimic human speech. And that's it from me. Now back to John.
Thank you very much, Emily. Well, last night we saw London Metropolitan University host a live debate surrounding diversity in fashion. Panelists included Catherine Thomas-Bailey, a London-based journalist, and Tolani Shonei, a beauty and lifestyle writer for BuzzFeed, Maria Pearl, a London Met graduate and now creative director, and Jay Camiras, a.k.a. Mr. Fabulous.
And how fabulous he was. The audience, made up of students, lecturers and guests from the public, asked some tough questions to the panel on their own experiences in their work and personal life, and quizzed them on their views on how fashion diversity is progressing. During the lively debate last night, one of the main topics to come out was surrounding their views on cultural appropriation. All of the panel experts had a lot to say on this. Let's take a look.
Sorry. What are your views on cultural appropriations?
LOL. I have so many feelings about this, and I feel like it's something that, I mean, it's a perfect time. Kim Kardashian, so we can talk about that now. She did the Bo Derek braids, or she means the Fulani braids. I think for me, what irks me the most and what I find most offensive is the lack of respect to educate yourself on such thing. So per se, I'm not that offended by someone wearing braids. I'm not that offended by someone trying to style, as long as it's not like religiously or something offensive. If it's a trend, I'm not offended by it. It's just a lack of respect to learn where that comes from and what that means to people, especially when you have a big profile. I feel like if you have a big profile, you're going to say something, tell people facts. Don't come through with some fake news or some alternative facts. Tell them where it's from and tell them who it is. But I think it's an attention-seeking thing sometimes, because a lot of people know better, and especially for the Kim Kardashian's sake, your husband is a black man, you have black children. So that's why that offends me so much as well. It's a lack of respect to educate yourself and know what these things mean to these cultures before making it just to be a thing to be talked about for. That's what I think about it.
I think there's also like a very blurred line between cultural appropriation and appreciation. I think some people try to move in the category like, oh, I just like it. I think it looks really cool. Like, I know like braids are from Africa, but I just liked it. Like, yeah, like what you want to like. Like, that's not an issue. But the same with you. I feel like people don't educate themselves, and I feel like they're not willing to educate themselves. So they'd rather take it and think, how can I remix this and make it my own? Like, I think it was ASOS, and they had like Ankara or like fabric, and then they and then they literally like remixed it, and they were like tropical print or something print, and it's like, bro, like this is Ankara. Like, go to Peckham and you'll find it.
On it.
Literally, we'll be like, yeah, ASOS,
from.
like, well done, like whatever. But it's like when you try to remix it or make it your own, or just try to be like, yeah, I'm gonna put my own spin on it. Like, all these blogs are like hot new. So don't think that you can get away with it so
And it's
easily.
because these things mean certain things to these people. And I was that kid that was bullied not bullied because he could bully me, sorry, but I was that kid who people tried to mock at school for having braids or doing this. And so for you to now apparently have made it cool, it's like, who were you to have made something that's so dear to me cool? Like, I have experiences of going to the salon, of sitting there for hours, of like sitting between my mum's legs and getting my hair braided, but then you can come through and act like it's this cool thing that you invented, and that's where I think it's offensive.
Oh, when I was in secondary school, I think I was in year 8, we were told that we weren't allowed to have braids across the board. Like, we just weren't allowed. And I remember, like, a white girl came into school and she had her hair all braided back, and they were like, oh, you need to take it out. She took it out the next day. But then when I walked in, they were like, oh, sorry, you need to take this out. Like, it's a fashion thing. And I was like, my hair's going to break. Like, this, I'm not doing this for fashion. Like, this is a protective hairstyle. And it got to the point where my dad even had to come to the school and had to sit them down and say to them, like, this isn't fashion. Just because it goes in different directions, it doesn't mean I'm doing it as a trend. Like, this is a culture. This is, like, this is part of us. This is, like, what makes us who we are, like this, the braids, the experience, everything that comes with it. So in the end, I still rebelled. Like, even if they were going to kick me out, I was like, that's fine, I don't care. But they couldn't say anything because it's like they weren't in the position to say anything. They were these white people who had no clue. So it's like, even if what I was saying to them wasn't fact, the least you can do is educate yourself and have some sort of understanding or tolerance.
Thank you. Jay?
I was just listening to the lady. Believe it or not, I have had braids as well when I was in a boy band quite many years back. But it's only because my friends, they just wanted to just play around with my hair and do different.
Beckham had braids and we didn't say anything because, let's be honest, we weren't that woke then. And I think what's offensive is that it's deemed good on this person, but if I did it, it's ghetto and it's like, it's offensive, it doesn't look good. So I think that's what's offensive by it. It's a blurred line for me, and I think, yeah, it's a very, very blurred line for me. Like I said, back in the day, Beckham had braids. Beckham was wearing whatever the hell he wanted, and nobody really deemed him for it because we weren't woke. So now we kind of like woke. I like to say I'm partly woke, partly napping, because I don't want it. I think it's quite tasking to be angry at everything. So I choose what I'm angry at, and when I feel like it's pure ignorance, that's what frustrates me, rather than when I think, homegirl is just trying the thing.
Colleen, you must see quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I think it's a really tricky one. I've discussed this a bit before because fashion as an entity is inspired by a lot of things, and I don't want designers to think they can't be inspired by things. I think there's so much in the world to be inspired by, and that's amazing. But like you said, don't go to the country, take the print exactly as it is, and then say, oh, this is ours. It's not, it's theirs, you know? And then there's also things that you can do, you know. I was on a panel with this amazing Indian designer, and he was saying he actually went there and he got it set up so that the women making those fabrics got a cut of the amount of his sales. So, like, there's ways that you can do it that respect and kind of show respect for the art and the craft that is being made there. And maybe in a way what you can also do is help that craft to not die out. The problem is going to places and then saying, actually, I'm just going to take that and that's mine now, because no.
And it's happened to us in the history. We've had too many things taken for us to take it lightly, so we're going to fight this one.
After the debate, guests were entertained with a catwalk show by first-year graduate students from the CAS, which featured makeup and outfits by fashion BA students.
We're now joined by creative lead from last night's show, Omatola Shakoya. So Omatola, how did you find working last night with so many diverse models?
To start with, it wasn't my first time working backstage with so many diverse models. I've always done it, and doing it at London Metropolitan University, I think is interesting, and it's very thoughtful of the organizers and everything like that. And yeah, I find it very interesting and inclusive as well. Yeah.
I mean, excellent. You just mentioned there that you've done it before.
Yeah.
Share with us, what was your first experience when you had an event with diverse models? I'm sure to something that intrigued you.
I mean, I'm quite young, so thanks to makeup artists in the past, I've actually set the pace for upcoming makeup artists like me. I mean, when I started off, it was just normal for me to work with different colors and different ethnicities. So this for me is normal.
How can this unite cultures and communities? Embracing diversity in fashion. I mean, in your opinion, how do you think this can unite communities? This should be this should be normal. Like I said before, this shouldn't be what we are thinking about now. I mean, we're in 2018. Like, let's just move on to the next stage, and it would just help community and culture come together, knowing that no one is left out really, and everyone is included in anything.
And as a makeup artist, how do you find working with diverse gender roles, so with male and females during catwalk shows?
How do I prepare for that? I do not prepare for it. I just have it at the back of my mind that yes, I'm going to this fashion show, and every color should be in my makeup kit. I mean, we work with a lot of colors as makeup artists, and when it comes to the eyeshadow, the eyebrow, you don't think about, oh, I need to go with blue, I need to go with brown. So when it comes to the skin color, it needs to be the same thing. When you're going on set as a makeup artist, you need to have everything included. So you need to have my color, your color, and even yours. So it should be normal. I like normal. I think that is why I'm here today, to tell everyone that is normal.
Well, thanks so much, Omatola.
Thank you so much, Amatola. Well, next time I'm live, I think I'll have her to do my makeup. Well, that's it from today's program. Today's editor was Barbara Shike, and the studio producer was Joel Chenin. I am John Chinode.
And I'm Leanne Carr. And until next time, thanks from all of us at Met Today. Goodbye.
From journalism students at London Metropolitan University, this is Met Today.